What's up, mamas? I'm Rebecca. You're watching the Reseller Mom Show. Thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of Reseller Momversations. And I am so excited to bring you a guest that I probably contacted before anyone else a very long time ago, because I had seen her on Instagram and saw she was a reselling mom and said, hey, I would love to chat with you sometime. So I'm very excited to have Alexis on. She's known on Instagram as sequin_star, and I will let her introduce herself. Hi, Alexis. Thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Well, I am Alexis. I have been, I don't want to say full-time reselling anymore because so much stuff has happened that I don't really feel like I've put full-time hours in anymore. My goal was to be full-time this year. And I've been reselling on and off for about 3 years. I kind of just fell into it, picking stuff up that I thought was cute. I had no idea about this amazing community. And honestly, I'm so happy that I found it. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I sell on Poshmark. I sell on Mercari. I'm just now getting into eBay. So, yeah.
Awesome. And then tell us, because this is obviously Momversation, so tell us about your kind of family or child situation so everyone understands how many, how big, small.
Okay, so I have I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 1-year-old son now. And my husband is in the Navy.
Well, thank you all for your service today. We're recording on Veterans Day. This will go up later, but we're recording on.
Thank you so much. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. He doesn't have set hours. He's kind of gotten back into like the ship mode where he's working a lot later, and so it's just been kind of crazy trying to get the life balance back to normal. My daughter's in kindergarten now, so I have that time, and then my son still naps a lot, so I'm very lucky.
Right, absolutely. Those little naps are glorious. Keep them, protect the nap as much as you can. My little guy is almost 4, and for the most part, he's still napping. Not as much as he used to, but we still get one, so it's so helpful.
My daughter stopped when she was 2, and it was not fun. I want him to nap forever.
I mean, I think, it's different for everyone, but I've seen, like, from my little guy's friends, there are people that just like, oh, she doesn't do it. And it's like, I don't know how much of a choice I give Gio. And that's, I mean, every parent is different and every child-parent relationship is different, but like, I don't really know how much of a choice he has in it. Like, it's one thing, I guess, his choice if he doesn't fall asleep, and that has happened a few times, but we do the same pre-nap time routine every day regardless, and he goes in there and I turn off the lights regardless. Now, if he ends up after 30 minutes not sleeping on a given day, then it is what it is, but his butt's going in there, so. In one day.
Yeah, my daughter, she would just lay there and either kick the wall or try to get out, so that stopped.
I think Gio is in the crib for a lot longer than a lot of kids. He just never tried to climb out, so I never took him out.
Oh no, my daughter is adventurous. Yeah, very.
Gio's not. I mean, every once in a while I'm like, oh, do like get a little more rambunctious, do something. But for the most part, he's energetic, but he's not. Yeah, he's not adventurous. He's not risky with jumping off of like he just wouldn't do it. So he doesn't even get out of the bed, even though he can. Like, I don't know that he knows that he can get out of the bed, even though it's physically possible.
Yeah, no, my daughter in the house, especially, she's a risk taker, but outside of the house, not so much. Like, I was trying to get her to do the slip and slide, and she was very apprehensive about it. But in the house, she'll jump off anything.
Yeah. You'll see how that ends up in personality later. I mean, I guess, it's good and it's bad. And I don't really think I'm a big risk taker, so I can't expect too much from him. And I wouldn't necessarily say my husband is a big risk taker either. So I guess you can't blame them from where they are. But so let's talk a little bit about the social media side of it, because I there are some people that I have on Momversations that are resellers, and they're on Instagram, and of course that's how I found out about them, but they're not also doing YouTube. And so I don't get to have that conversation with very many people. So I do want to talk all about the reselling and stuff, but I think it's nice because there are a lot of people that are curious about it. Like if they want to do it, what is it going to be like? They get nervous about it. So I think it's nice to always have that conversation. So how long have you had the channel for? And because I know I've seen a bit on it.
Yeah, I haven't uploaded in about 6 months now.
Yeah.
So I started it, and I was trying to get really into it and trying to go full force on it. And then my house had a fire.
Yeah.
So I stopped. There was just a lot going on. There's videos that I had recorded, but it doesn't make sense to put them up because I don't have that stuff anymore. A lot of stuff was damaged from the water, not from the fire itself. So like I had a bunch of thread up videos still, but all that stuff was in my living room because I had filmed it out there. And so it just got covered in water and then was ruined. So I haven't really uploaded in a while. I've been meaning to, but it's really, it's not up on the top of the totem pole right now. My husband just had 2 surgeries. There's been a lot going on.
Yeah.
Me and my husband have like an ongoing joke about how bad our luck is. So he's had 2 surgeries now, so I've kind of like stepped back a little bit from social media for the past, I'd say like 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And stepped back from selling because when you're a mom and you're reselling full time, you're lucky because if I had a normal 9-to-5 job, I couldn't step back from that.
Right.
I have to go where I'm needed. And so this is the perfect job because, you know, if my son's sick, I can spend more time with my son and I don't have to worry about anything. And, you know, my husband has a job, so I'm lucky in that sense that I don't rely on this.
Right.
I like doing it for myself. I like being productive. I like contributing. I like, you know, just having something to do, having a schedule. And so I've taken a step back to be where my family needed me to be. But my husband goes back to work this week. So it kind of works out perfectly because I'm starting to like, I just went through all my inventory and I'm getting myself prepared to get back on track. So,
I mean, I think what you brought up is a good point, and it's something that's like, I think it runs in the back of my mind, and maybe I don't always talk about it, but I kind of feel similar to you in that reselling, it is second to all the other things, but then obviously there's like a total, like maybe one day your husband needs you more than your kids do, maybe your kids need you more than your husband does, maybe your house, obviously you have you have something going on with your house that's in an emergency situation, that's gonna, so you've got all these like personal things, and then you have reselling, which if it was a job where you reported to a physical place that you were going to and you had a set schedule and you were on salary or whatever, you wouldn't be able to back burner it like you can reselling. And I think sometimes, I don't know that everyone is like this, but for me, and I'm not saying that you're not, but super ambitious and have all of these goals and things that you want to do with your business, that sometimes those life things can almost seem like, you know, it's really a bummer that my kid needs me right now because I was just in the middle of doing this kind of thing. And at least for me, I've always been more of a career worker person than a domestic. So it is hard for me to back burner something that is like a work thing or family things. But as a stay-at-home mom, that is your primary, you know, job, or at least for me, that is my primary thing. And it's troublesome sometimes to go back and forth between the two. But then I think about how grateful I am that we can do that with this role, because if I was in my old job, I would not be able to do half of the things that I do for my family in the way that we've grown accustomed to. So I think it's a really healthy way that you're looking at it to say like, this has to go over here right now so that I can do these things and serve my family the way I need to. And then once we're back on track, now I can go back and do this other thing. And it's not my main thing. It doesn't have to be my main thing. It's a nice, healthy way to look at it, I think.
Well, honestly, the fire like put a lot of stuff in perspective for me. It was very scary. We were out of the house. We were living on base. We were out of the house for 3 days because we were having a problem with mold and I wanted them to fix it. So we were in a hotel for 3 days prior. And then they came and they were putting in new vent covers, and the nail clipped one of the wires. And it was burning all day. I had smelled it when I came home and I was like, something smells weird in here. Like, this is weird. And, you know, before the fire, I was work. Everything else can wait. Like, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. But we could have died.
Yeah.
Like, the fire marshal that came there said if we had gone to sleep, and, you know, my husband was trying to get us all to take a nap because we hadn't slept good. We were in a hotel.
Yeah.
And the kids were crazy in the hotel for us. And he said if we were in there for maybe like an hour or two, any longer than that, we would have died from carbon monoxide. It wasn't an open flame. It wasn't like my house was engulfed in flames, but there was smoke everywhere. And I was in my office working with the big umbrella light. And I was in there working and the light had flickered. So I went out and I was looking and I was like, this is like really, like, I looked at the doorbell, it was making like a weird noise and I was like, this is burning.
Yeah.
And we had someone come and look and I said, okay, well, I'm going to go turn off my light in my workroom. And I went in there and the light was shining and you could see all the smoke. And I was like, we need to get out of this house now.
Right. Yeah.
And when we went outside, I had my husband take the dogs and he took them around the back. And when he went around the back, it looked like we had a chimney and we did not have a chimney.
Oh my God.
The smoke was just pouring out. And it was crazy to see firefighters climbing on top of the roof and just pouring water in there.
Oh my God.
And once we got in there, like, I just immediately like was in tears. Everything was covered and it was just a mess. And my whole life got my whole life got flipped upside down in a matter of a day.
Oh my God. I'm kind of putting like visual in my mind as you're telling this story. And it's just like, I can't even, I don't know what that would be like. I'm so sorry for that. And thank God you're all okay. And, you know, I mean, I guess so at that point you were on base, so it was military housing. So perhaps that's a blessing in that there was a lot that maybe you don't have to necessarily, I mean, I guess you have to be involved in whatever happens after that, but because it's not your house. You know what I mean? Like,
I was very thankful that it was not my house.
Yeah. And I mean, it is your house and it's your home is where you make it. And that was your home and your your things, and your children, I'm sure, had to go through a whole thing with their things. And it just brings up a lot of issues that a lot of people don't have to deal with. And that's terrible.
Yeah, it was crazy. And, you know, the whole military community here has just been like so helpful for us. And honestly, like, I've never not had insurance. So I was very thankful to have insurance and that it covered almost everything, not quite everything, but almost everything. So while we lost everything, it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Right. Well, and that's good as far as like things and all of that. But just, you know, I mean, I think about it, and this is very unrelated, but recently we had like a thing in the area where there was, I don't want to say an active shooter, but there was like an active gun related situation happening like in our neighborhood. And I don't mean the neighborhood where we live, like the greater area where there's businesses and stuff. And it was all over the local news and all over our local Facebook. And this is a pretty nice, pretty safe area. So like for something like that to happen, it's really jarring because you don't really expect that to be the news kind of thing. There's like accidents all over the place because you know what I mean? Like you're more likely to have like a car accident than you are some terrible crime happening. And so the person that they were looking for apparently was 400 feet away from the little school where Gio goes. And he wasn't there that day, but all the schools were on like a hard lockdown. And I'm not too familiar, but now having gone through hearing the communications come out about it, like all the kids have to go in a bathroom and shut off the lights and stuff. And it's just made me think about, even though nothing directly happened to him and he wasn't there, but the kids in his class had to go through this like really scary situation, even though it ended up being just fine. Like I just think about like, you know, in what's supposed to be a safe place. Like I know this is kind of out there, but like, do you or your family feel, and this is not reseller related, I just opportunity to talk, I'm sorry, like you were in a safe place and then it became all of a sudden like not a safe place, and now you have to talk with your kids about things that you would never think that you have to talk with them about.
Yeah, my son was little. He doesn't know anything, but my daughter, she saw somebody grilling in the backyard and smoke was coming up behind their house, and she was like, a fire! And I was like, no, honey, it's fine. And then like she'll just randomly, well, I hope this house doesn't catch on fire. So it has kind of traumatized her a little bit. But I think when she gets older, she'll understand better. But
she may not even, I mean, well, she's 6, so probably she would remember it. Maybe not. You never know. Where it's not going to, but I just, you know, like those kinds of conversations and stuff where I think about, you know, how do you explain this? Like, or how do you work through those things where it did work out okay, but it's still this traumatic thing that you had to like deal with and talk about. I think if I can, not to make light of it or anything, but to kind of go back to the reselling for those that, you know, are here and maybe more focused on something like that, though I think it's just good information for all of us to hear as moms, people that take care of our homes and stuff, like what, you know, what's possible. But as a reseller, can you tell us a little bit about the process of what happens when you have an emergency in your home or a disaster in your home with your inventory that you keep and
okay, so I have a bin system.
Okay.
So everything that I have, and okay, there's a lot of like controversy and if you should wrap your stuff in plastic. I do, because I've had things ruined in transit on the buying end,
right,
and on the selling end. So I wrap my stuff in plastic and then I put things in a Ziploc bag with the number on it so I can reuse the numbers and reuse the bags. And I have a husky too, so everything stays hair free. And you know, there's no weird smell, like it stays in there.
Right.
So all of my stuff was pretty much in bins except for like the new ThreadUp boxes that I was trying to film and stuff like that. My insurance had an emergency textile cleaning service. So they come in, they account for everything, and then they bag it up and they take it and treat it. And if they can't treat it, then they don't charge you for it. And then they just tell your insurance like, hey, this much has been damaged. So I had a lot of stuff that like needed to be photographed or inventoried. I had some of that stuff treated. So it smells brand new. It looks like you got it home from a dry cleaner. That's what it looks like when it comes back.
That's great.
And then it happened on a Memorial Day weekend, so it was kind of like a hard time to get them to come out soon enough. So I had a lot of stuff that did get ruined, and I just accounted for that. But everything, for the most part, like I want to say like 85% of my inventory was already bagged up. So it was already saved. I had to open it all up and like smell it.
Yeah. It was like a fire burning flame, like you said, it was a different type of, situation, then it wasn't, like it was burned and charred and whatever in the bins melt, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't that type of situation. So I guess as far as the, your business goes, it could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
So that's good. That's good. Well, I'm sorry you have had so many things to deal with, and hopefully you're on the flip side of all of that. And
I sure hope so.
Holidays, so it's a happy, joyful time because it's holidays. And are you a Scorpio?
Yes.
When's your birthday?
Tomorrow.
Oh, is it? Awesome. Wait, so tomorrow's the 12th. Okay, I'm on the 18th. And I don't know.
That's my dad's birthday.
Oh, is it? You know
yeah.
whose birthday it is?
Who?
Like, I'm not even kidding. People think I'm strange.
I did not know that.
It is the first Steamboat Willie cartoon where Mickey became is what was aired November 18th, 1928. And so it's Mickey Mouse's birthday. And it's my birthday, and I'm sure a lot of other great people. And it's just so exciting because then I'm from New Jersey, and I ended up here in Orlando, and I feel like I need to go to the parks on, my birthday and then go hug him like that. We don't often get to see Mickey these days, so I don't try. Yeah. But that's cool. Yeah. I mean, Scorpios, I think, I just happened to see it on your Instagram. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's a Scorpio sign. Or, like, I'm sure you can power through anything, because I feel like Scorpio people are like super intense when like they need to be and can kind of like do it. So
yeah, I feel like I can kind of separate things a little bit better than a lot of people. I feel like I don't take things as personally. I just get it done.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that I have two sisters, and both of them are very emotional, and I'm just like, just do what you have to do and get it over with.
Well, like I said, I was going on like, we're getting into the holidays. That's, something to focus on. That's happy and, for the kids and the family and whatever. And then you're going to be in the new year. And so it's always a good time to kind of like be refreshed. And I love this year because we have all of our birthdays, we have the holidays, and then I do like the new leaf of a new year and that kind of thing. So I feel like between now and the end of the year and into the beginning of the year, it's just like a nice, refreshing time. So hopefully, your shenanigans will subside. I don't know how else to say it. I'm sorry. I don't mean to make
it's okay.
So hopefully, you'll be able to get yourself back on track and the kids and everything with reselling. So I do want to kind of change lanes a little bit if I can. So you're on Poshmark and Mercari, and dabbling or going to dabble into eBay, where I'm kind of on all three, and I'm going to be releasing eBay from my life for a little while in 2020 and just focusing on Poshmark and Mercari. So I'm just kind of curious, like, how has it been for you just being, and again, all of the recent events maybe subsided, and think back to like, a little bit before where you were kind of gung-ho with it all. How is just being on platforms like Mercari and Poshmark together without, works well for you, obviously.
Yeah, I honestly love both of the platforms. I haven't really had issues. The only thing that I can say is that Mercari, when somebody wants to open a case, they don't really like communicate with you. But I have OCD, so I don't really have a lot of cases opened against me. So I love both of those platforms. I was very, very nervous about eBay, and I finally was just like, you know what, like, I think I know what I'm doing, so I'll just dive into it, and if I make a mistake, it's not going to be the end of my life.
Right.
Like, if I like get a return, it's not going to be like detrimental to my business. So I just kind of dove into it. I've been on there for a couple months now, and I do like it. I can't really say anything negative about it.
Do you have everything cross-posted everywhere?
Yeah, I do cross-post everything. There's been a lot of times where I think something's going to sell on one platform and it sells on the others. Yeah. And I'm just like,
Oh,
So
that's why it's nice to put it on all three, regardless of what it is, because you get into a rhythm and you don't make those judgments and you don't feel like I missed out or could have gotten more. You just put them up on all three, and wherever it sells, it sells. And every once in a while, you'll be lucky enough where it'll sell on two. Then you have to make a choice. But I like putting, if you're going to set up whichever platforms, I like putting everything on all of them. That's what I've been doing. And that's why I think people always ask me, like, do you do more on eBay or more on Poshmark? Because those are obviously the more main ones. And it's always about even, or at least it has been. Now I'm seeing a lot more of a lean towards Poshmark as far as my revenue is going, and less on eBay, which led me to the decision to, leave it go for a little while. So I'm still on it right now, but I'm transitioning out of it. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I may choose to go back to it, but just because of the traffic and what have you. I always feel like, I said this to my husband, I'm like, I feel like whenever I threaten to leave eBay, that's when it starts behaving. Because I just had said it on the live last week, that I was going to not do eBay in 2020. And then like this whole last week, I've had like nice sales and like good sales. I'm like, but I'm like, I wrote it down. It's in my master plan. It says master plan. So I'm doing it. But I think for you it would be good because it's, you have to like try, you have to challenge yourself, right? So if you're used to Poshmark and Mercari, it'll be a good challenge to.
Well, and I have List Perfectly now, and with the software like that, it takes an extra like minute to cross post instead of like doing everything manually like I used to. So it doesn't make sense to not try out a platform because now I'm paying money for the service. It takes an extra minute. I might as well.
Okay.
So
you're putting it on Poshmark first. Where are you putting it first, and then using?
I put it on List Perfectly, and then I
you put it
post
just
them
in there, and then you just tell it to go wherever. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm really thinking about it. The thing is, I have virtual assistants, and I'm going to go down to one virtual assistant, and she's been great. I don't necessarily want to take work away from her because I like having her when I need her for extra projects or different things. You know what I mean? So it's something, but I also don't want to just throw money away when there's a solution that possibly could be cheaper. So it is something that I'm going to look into. Do you have any tips, advice, thoughts on somebody who doesn't have it that's considering it?
I think there's still a free trial period. But just definitely make sure like what plan you're on. And now they've updated the software. So if you don't want to have it stored in List Perfectly, you can just copy it from one platform to the other, and you don't even have to go through List Perfectly. It's worth a shot. It's not for everybody, but it is definitely worth a shot. But just make sure and look at what plan you're on, and you're not paying extra money when you don't have to.
Were you doing the cross-posting completely yourself first, and now you're doing it with List Perfectly? So it's an added expense, but a savings of time for you.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. Like, do you think that it's worth it for the amount of money that you're adding for the time savings because you were doing it all yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Hands down, no question. Okay. So that's good. I think a lot of people wonder about that because like, oh, I could just do this, and oh, it's no big deal, and oh, I don't want to pay that money. But in reality, when you go through the month, you're like, well, how many items did you actually cross post? Because they didn't get around to it because it's a time thing. Whereas if you did make the leap and paid for it, you would use it. And then your business would possibly benefit more from it because now you're paying for something that you want to make the use of more so than the gym membership that you have that you do. You know what I mean? Like you're paying for something for your reselling business, you're going to use it a whole lot more than your gym membership. I bet.
Well, I was looking into hiring a virtual assistant to cross post for me.
Yeah.
And then the software came out and I was like, okay, well.
Done. Well, and that's why I'm kind of like, am I so stupid for continuing to pay a person to do work that, this system can do? So I don't know, because it is a big leap because I'm not doing it myself at all. So yes, I'm paying money and this would be less money, which is great, but is it going to meet the same because I can basically control her however, I'm telling her exactly how to do it. I don't mean control her, but give her the proper direction to, to do it how exactly I want it versus a system that's maybe more cookie cutter or something like that. So I'm just really curious, how that would work. So I've got to see if I can work it into my system, but I would love to save some money per month. That would be great. But
I would say just try it and see
Yeah.
if you can fit it into your schedule, because you're not doing it yourself. So if you can fit in the time to do however many and see however many you can get done versus having somebody else do it, because if you're going to get half the amount done, and it's not really worth it.
Well, and the other thing that I thought of too, and I would have to test it, is can she access it? Because if it cut down on her time, like I'm all for giving her a tool that would cut down on her time, that would make it easier for her so that we could get more done in the same amount of time, and I could pay her less because she's doing less work. So what I'm considering is possibly still paying for the subscription, also paying her, but paying her less per item. She still handles it all because I don't want to take it back on. That's the problem. Is I won't, you know what I mean? So, but at least then we could get more listings done for the same amount of money, perhaps.
I was contemplating that also when I'm able to get really back into this.
Yeah.
Because when I was really going full time, I really didn't have time, and I would honestly focus on one rather than all the others, and then just play catch up. So I was thinking about that too, planning ahead.
No, that's great. I think that's great. And I haven't really talked to anybody about it. So this is the first time that it's kind of being brought up over here. And I know that a lot of YouTubers have been doing videos about it, and I still need to get my act together to watch. I watched one partially, and then I got interrupted. And so I need to do the research myself too. But hopefully we'll have more. If I start it, then everyone that's waiting on it, they can, I can be the guinea pig as well. Or if you start, back with your videos and stuff, I would probably get a lot of views. It's putting a nice.
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas for getting back into it. It's just been, when my husband doesn't need me.
I think we all can, you of anybody could probably give yourself the most amount of grace in trying to get things done, because there's been clearly more pressing matters to deal with. The other thing I wanted to just move on to, and I want to be mindful of your time and mine, and the people watching, of course, is talk to me about reselling with a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. Because I think that's about the same difference as like my sister and I when we were little, and obviously still now, but it's a big gap. Like, you know what I mean? Like one is in school, one is still just entering toddler. You know what I mean? Like it's a big gap as far as when they're small, what's happening with them and like what's going on in each of their lives. So how do you manage that along with the reselling?
Okay, so my daughter goes to school. Her school starts at 7:05.
Wow.
And so I start my day at 6 with her, and we wake up, we have breakfast, I have coffee, and then if my husband still happens to be here, some days he has PT in the morning, and he's been here obviously. So I've been leaving my son with him sleeping, and then I'll go take her to school. When I come back, I usually hop on my Peloton, because that's one of the things that I've been like really trying to get back into, is like taking care of myself. So I hop on the Peloton for about 30 minutes, and then I share my closet, wake my son up, and if it's a sourcing day, we go sourcing then after I feed him. And then usually he just runs around in my office and tries to get into stuff while I take pictures and, list or whatever I have to do. But my husband, when he comes home, he's very helpful for me. He takes over watching the kids so I can try to work for, usually gives me 2 or 3 hours before I need to go out there.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm very lucky. My toddler, he he's not really like very needy. Like when we go out sourcing, if I bring snacks, then he's fine.
Yeah.
And he likes looking at everything. He tries to like tell me what I need to pick up because he'll pull stuff off of the hangers.
Yep.
So, my daughter hates Goodwill though. She hates it.
What does she hate about it?
She hates that we go in there and spend some time in there. So.
Well, and I mean, is it the act of like, we're going into a store and we're not walking out with anything that's like for me? Because right now that's Gio's thing. Like if we walk into a store and he's not getting something out of the deal, like and I don't let him most times because I'm not going to buy him something every time we go. That would defeat the whole purpose. But that's his like, he's like little Mr. Consumer right now. I don't know for her.
She doesn't really look around. Like usually in our thrift stores, I see a lot of baby things. I don't really see anything for her. So she doesn't really look at anything. She has very limited screen time, so I can't let her just watch YouTube the entire time. Right. So I think she just gets bored of being in there. I don't have to take her very often anymore, though. But on the weekends, if I do decide to pop in somewhere, she's like, not Goodwill.
But it's, I mean, I've talked about this with a few moms, like, because, like, if you didn't have your reselling business and you were a stay-at-home mom, you would be way more available to do exactly what they want when they want. And while that is a good thing, it can be too much of a good thing sometimes in my opinion of parenting. And so I feel like sometimes having the reselling is an excuse to kind of teach Gio some lessons about patience or not buying something every time you go into the store or whatever the lesson I decide to turn it into that day. It's like, okay, here's a teachable moment. This is the deal of why this is not happening the way you want it. And I think it gives us the opportunity to have something to share those lessons with them. So if you can look at it in that way, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying in general, not you specifically, if a mom can look at it in that way, it could be a very positive thing. Where sometimes I hear out in the reseller mom universe, a lot of just the frustrations, like when you're trying to take photos or when you're sourcing or what have you. And I think it's a lot about how you treat the problem and go about it, communicating about it with your child. That can really set the tone.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of mom guilt because I wasn't doing things with them. And I used to get very frustrated because, I have so many things that I have to do and so much time. And I used to get really frustrated that one of them was acting up or, what have you. And now, like I said, I've just let go of a lot of things. I had a lot of fights with my husband because, I wanted to work and he was not helping as much as I wanted him to help and ever since I kind of like let go and kind of let life guide me where I was going, I don't have any fights in my marriage. I don't have to yell at my kids so much. I think it's just been a lot happier of an experience. And, I'm looking at it as, this is just for me to kind of do something and kind of help. But if I don't, grow as fast as I once wanted to grow, then that's okay.
Right.
And I can do that later.
Right. And I need to hear that sometimes too. So thank you for saying that, because like I said, I'm very ambitious and I have a lot of things that I want to do, and a 12-point page master plan over. Can't help it, just the way I am. But because this is the season that we're in, parents of small children, moms of small children, and they're not going to be that way for forever. And so I do have to remind myself of that. So thank you for saying it to me, and for the moms watching that, maybe you need it today too. You never know how the synchronicity of things works itself out, and the lessons and things you need to hear come just when you need to hear them and learn them. So I appreciate it. I mean, I think it would be good, again, to be mindful of your time and those watching. Maybe we leave it on that note. I think that's a good note to leave it on. Do you have any other thoughts, tips, tricks, anything you want to leave to the other reseller moms that watch? I know everyone takes a lot from these, you know, people sharing their personal experience and stories. And I appreciate you sharing yours, with it being a very personal one. So if there's anything else you want to add, I'd love that.
I just would like for all the moms to know that you are doing enough. And if you don't get it done today, that's okay. There's more days. And if your children need you, or life happens and gets crazy, or you need to spend time with your husband, then you need to do that for you. And reselling doesn't always have to be first priority. You're doing this for your family. You have to remember your why.
Yeah.
So just know that you're doing enough.
And the one thing I'm definitely taking, it's gonna sound terrible, you know, sometimes when you need to also take care of your husband, because I think poor guy, my poor husband, he's like, you know, 8th on the list at this point. So it's nice to, like, today, you know, he's a veteran. He served in the 82nd Airborne for 5 years. So today is his special day. I made him breakfast this morning, and we're gonna go to dinner tonight. Oh, we didn't give him the card. Oh, darn. I hid it and then I forgot. I gotta pull it out. You know, so it's like taking those times to do something nice for them, and not just because they're veterans. Obviously, that's not everyone's situation, but you know, to not forget that they're kind of in this too. Sometimes we make it so much about the kids, and then because we're excited about our business, that, at least for me, is the next thing. You know, and sometimes I think even Malia, our dog, ranks higher than my husband. She just had a tooth surgery, so she was needy too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for everyone watching, thank you so much. Hopefully you got some great nuggets out of this. And if anything, just, you know, some camaraderie, because I think that's why I like doing it. Every week I get to talk to someone else that's in either a completely different situation than me or just the same exact situation than me. And it's nice to be able to share those moments with people. So hopefully everyone at home watching thinks the same thing. So tell everyone where they can find you again, your YouTube channel. They can just catch up on some of your old ones if they haven't seen it till you put something new. And
I am Sequin Star on YouTube, Sequin_star on Instagram, and then Sequin Star on Poshmark.
Oh, yeah, perfect. Great. Thank you. Yeah, and I'll link all of that below on the video. And folks, leave us a comment, like this video on your way out, and be sure to subscribe for more Reseller Mom content to get more done, make more money, and stay sane while raising kids and reselling online. Thanks so much, and we will see you in the next one.